Hello again, and a very warm welcome this very cold evening to our little weekly podcast, Sweet Omagh Town Internet Radio. My name is Don McGurgan, and very shortly I'll be joined with my co-host, Declan Ford. Happy New Year, Mr. Ford, if you can hear me tonight.
Oh, Happy New Year indeed. You know, I don't like New Year's Eve at all.
Ugh, it's a bit of a...
I'm very curmudgeonly in my old age.
Well, it's nothing new.
I tell you, it'll be a different New Year's Eve, but I find it a bit depressing, all the Bon Homie and the television and Jules Holland, wheeled out for his annual performance. I long for the day. Do you remember Andy Stewart?
Oh, did I do that? Donald, where's your trousers? Yes, I remember.
Donald, and did you know in the middle of Donald Where's My Trousers, he does a brilliant Elvis Presley impression.
Did he?
Singing Donald Where's My Trousers. And also, I did not know until a few months ago, you know the old song, there was a soldier, a Scottish soldier.
Yes.
I didn't realise that Andy Stewart wrote that.
Didn't know that either now.
No, I'm telling you. I just thought he was a kind of a sort of half comedian, but very, very talented guy altogether. And great personality on TV.
Yeah.
That was my memories of growing up was Andy Stewart and his wee kilt and wee turned up nose.
Remember years ago you used to get tartan shortbread and biscuits, like tins of biscuits and things. Remember, when you sort of were a customer in special shops and things at Christmas, they always give you sort of a Christmas box, maybe a tea caddy or a box of tartan shortbread and stuff.
Tartan shortbread. Oh, there's nothing like having the teeth rotten, isn't it? And I remember, when I was a teenager, I took up cooking. And I was determined, because my mother made very nice shortbread, that I would make my own shortbread. It was rock hard. I nearly broke teeth on it.
Well.
And I never tried it again.
Well, I let our listeners know you make a very good apple pie, Mr. Ford.
Oh, don't I know it? Don't I know it? Yes. I'm a very fine pastry maker. Oh. Do you remember Mr. Pastry on television? Was he Richard Hearn?
No, I don't. Do you know what I do? I used to remember when I were young. It was Fanny Craddock, was it?
Oh, and Johnny.
Johnny, that's right.
And he wore a monocle.
That's it.
And she talked to him as though he was a complete and utter dunderhead.
Absolutely.
But she probably was. Did you know her career ended dramatically? There was some kind of a competition on, and some elderly lady presented a cake, I think, that she had made. And Mrs. Craddock just dismissed it and said it was rubbish. And that was the end of her career on television. And quite deservedly so. Talking about dreadful TV presenters, do you remember there used to be a painting series, a woman called Nancy Kaminsky?
Yes, I do. Yes, I remember that.
And she had hair that must have been about 2 foot above her head. and there was a fella stood beside her, and he was the Johnny of that yes. particular program. And what are you doing now? I'm painting the sky. Oh, you're painting it blue. Yes. Oh, and what are you doing now? You're mixing the paint. Good. And he was the sort of general factotum that he was meant to represent all the ignorant people out there.
Oh, no.
Where she was talking in this, it wasn't even highfalutin way, but he had to interpret it and explain it for all the people.
But when you see all the hype and all about chefs and cooks today and things, I don't know. I mean, I just can't get reality TV. I know, Declan, I've given up on the whole thing. So, but I don't.
Look what reality TV brought us: Ed Balls, Donald Trump.
Yes.
And to some extent, Boris Johnson.
Yes.
Entertainers.
Yes.
And they drift into politics, except in Balls. Well, he went the other way. He went from politics into entertainment, and he's now a guru about celebrity.
That's right. He knows all.
Yes. He knows all, and, from a woeful politician to a woeful celebrity. But, I think they have opened the doors to some Pandora, or opened a Pandora's box.
But it's all changing, Declan, because everybody's got their own program to watch now, either on YouTube or Facebook or any other medium they want to use. So it used to be, you could, at work the next day, you'd say, did you see something on TV last night? That doesn't happen anymore, because people just have their own choices of entertainment.
And it is actually interesting, when I do watch, say, the BBC, for instance, they seem to have a choice of about 4 female presenters that churn out, like the likes of Zoe Ball and Davina McCall and the 2 women who do Strictly Come Dancing. And they just seem to morph into other programs, you know. And of all those millions of potential presenters out there, they're kind of stuck with about 5 or 6 people that they just sort of recycle. I suppose it's a good example of recycling.
Well, it's a matter of having a good management team behind you, I'd imagine, Declan, and fit to negotiate for you and get these spots, I'd imagine. I don't think it's to do with talent as much as people you know and people you need to know, I suppose, in this game. But
you know, I think we should set up our own TV station. Like Donald Trump apparently is thinking of doing it when he leaves the White House.
What would you
He's
call it?
dragged out of the White House.
Yes.
He's talking about setting up a TV channel.
Yes, we should
We
have
should
our
set
own.
up one. Deck and Dawn.
2 dicks.
Unleashed.
No,
What bear thinking about, does it?
no, I think we should have. What about Tyrone Today? Maybe that's right. Maybe that's
Now,
it.
that rings a bell.
Just brings back memories right enough. You know, and there's quite a few podcasts about, and there's a couple on Omagh as well that I heard over Christmas week. People talking about their views on Omagh and what's going on and things. So, you know, there's room for us all, Declan.
Well, isn't that good? I think it is good, you know, like when I think of, you know, my granny from Killiabig in Fermanagh, watching the London Palladium on television, and it was as though she was at an actual theatre and she applauded after every act.
Of course,
You
yes.
know, I think of when near me, the BBC came to do a little programme, a little half-hour slot, and one of the neighbours came and he had dressed himself up in his Sunday best just to go and say hello. You know, and it's wonderful that that closed media world has been open to the general public.
Okay, yes, that's nothing.
You know,
You know,
and,
there's people just famous for being
too.
famous, Declan. Now, really, that's all. You know, they don't really have anything else to offer, only their own fame. You know,
No,
so,
that's it.
but anyway.
That's it.
And speaking of fame, our little
Yes.
programme on the last farewell concert in Omagh Town Hall, we've got part 2 gone out now tonight over the weekend. So,
Right.
and we had fantastic numbers for the first part 1.
Excellent.
And part 2, unfortunately, part 2 had some Irish dancing in it and some Scottish dancing in it. And good as we are, it doesn't work on radio.
It doesn't work on radio.
No.
I know.
It's a bit like juggling.
which is a pity.
Juggling doesn't work on radio either. So.
Yeah, exactly. But I suppose, you know, we'll use what does work on radio.
We will.
And anybody that has been left out, apologies.
Our sincere apologies.
They are aggrieved.
Aye. No, we'll try not to leave any. We'll try and get everybody maybe to do some part in it if we can at all.
A little turn.
And it's difficult when you hear like a Paddy Laird back on stage again and
Yes.
Peter McCann and Stephen McKenna all
Yeah.
you know. But
That's right.
this programme will contain some of the Gorta Clare Pipe Band. They were there that night. I'd forgot about this.
Oh, excellent.
And was it Margaret Michael Holmes sang The Hills Above Drumquin? I think.
That was a great singer.
Yes.
A mighty singer.
And the late Paddy Gormley, he's on it as well. Part 2.
Do you remember we were talking to Chris McGill a few weeks ago?
Yes.
I remember he mentioned that his book was going to put out as an audio book.
Yes, that's right. His
Somebody
son.
said that Paddy Gormley's son
Yes.
is actually doing the recording for him.
There you are.
That brilliant?
That's great.
I took part in a concert for Paddy once, you know. Myself and Paddy Grugan and the late Artie McGlynn was there, and Cathal Hayden.
Right.
And it was up in the Foresters, and it was packed out.
There you are.
Because Paddy was a very, very popular man.
He was indeed.
And a great entertainer himself.
Yes.
And he just called upon his friends to just take part in the concert.
Yeah.
We were delighted to, and it was a great honour to take
Yeah.
part in it now, you know.
Something tells
That was
me
a long time
he
ago.
worked in Noma Gasworks along with my late father. Almost.
Oh my goodness, I
I
didn't
think
know
so. I
that.
do remember that now, but could be wrong.
Right.
But something tells me yes, he did.
Right.
Now and we've got John Taggart on this little
excellent.
programme
Great,
as well, and Derek Mahaffey, and then Brian Call. We'll
goodness.
finish it. And Declan, we put on the poems, the 2 poems, the great poems that Jackie McHale wrote. Remember from down our
I
street, the
do
collection
indeed,
of poems. I hope Jackie, we didn't get a chance to ring him beforehand to get his permission, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind. And with his permission, we'll actually maybe go with the Brian Call one again. just on the way, just as we tribute to Brian.
Well, as a tribute, I think, as a sort of a final tribute to Brian, you know.
Yes, because he was the last performer on the stage.
I think that's a great idea. Town Hall, it's a grand old lady, but her time came.
Her time came, yes, and it's for us all. And I suppose it's she lives great in the memories of people, because the numbers obviously has borne that out, that a lot of people resonate with the Town Hall and have various memories of it. When it was the home of the urban and district councils and the rural council as well. So
That's right.
but it's a changed town, Declan, from them. And I suppose in hindsight, it's easy to say these things. Maybe they should have kept some of it for maybe a smaller theatre down below or something, or some part of it, because that was a beautiful warm ambience in that room, and the acoustics, Declan, were superb in that room. You know,
I remember when I was in the A-levels, the very far-sighted group of teachers, the late Stevie McKenna, Ross Henderson, Brother Newell, and Miss McGahey from the convent, they were part of the Omagh Schools, Inter-Schools Historical Society. And long before it was popular or mandatory for schools to get together, they were promoting schools working, the academy and the brothers and the convent working together, and listening to, say, lectures on history that were part of the curriculum, and they organised history trips away to assorted parts of Ireland and London. But Stevie wrote a thing called The Good Old Summertime.
Yes, I remember that, yeah.
It was based on the sort of old music hall, and the late Michael Gormley was the master of ceremonies. Paddy Mossy took part in it. Davy Fullerton, Jimmy Mailer had a troupe over. Danny McLaren, I think, was part of a barbershop quartet with Vinnie McGill, Stevie, and Tom Sweeney.
Great, wasn't that something else? Yeah.
That was great crack, but it actually opened with Stevie as an old lamplighter in Omagh.
Gosh.
And the backdrop was painted by Roy Wilkinson, and I was privileged to help him. And it was just an old image of the town hall. And it was like stepping back into the Edwardian era. And Stevie just came out and put out the lit the lamplight, and just talked to the audience and introduced the show.
He was a natural, wasn't he? He really was.
Oh, he was. He was very, very, very talented man.
Oh no,
generous man.
It's mixed emotions when you hear these voices, and so many of them sadly have moved on. But it's nice to remember them. It's nice that they are remembered, and it's nice that the people are telling us how much they enjoy it as well, and just give us a wee like.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's important.
Please feel free to share these, because Facebook this time of year don't share it unless you would share it with your family and friends, and maybe people don't get a chance to hear it. But even some of the older programs are starting to get extra numbers now over this last few weeks with the lockdown. People are a bit more time. I can see the numbers sort of gone up in different programs as well, Declan. So we'll leave all as it is for the time being, and we'll discuss the new year maybe in the next couple of weeks to see where.
We shall have our plan of campaign.
Declan, that is our problem. We don't have plans.
wait.
The only certainty is we haven't a clue. Eh?
That's it. They have high hopes, but not a clue. That's us.
That's
Great
us.
Expectations.
Anyway, I'm going to wish you a happy new year to you and your family.
And the same to you, and to all the people out there in the great beyond who are listening, who are in their houses from 8 o'clock at night and just bapping the door at 6 o'clock in the morning to get out.
I know the feeling. Yes, I broke curfew. I went out last night at 10:30 for a walk up the lane for 100 yards, and I felt like the fugitive. I kept the flashlight, and but where I live, Declan, I don't think anyone will bother me now.
You never know.
No.
The one-armed man chasing after you.
Exactly.
Like the fugitive. Happy New Year to you. I got
too.
that in before you did.
Absolutely. And to all our listeners as well. Thanks everyone for your kind comments over the year, and thanks for listening, and thanks for sharing these. And it's a labour of love, and it's an honour and a privilege to collect these tapes, and let's hope there are many, many more to come as well in the coming weeks and months ahead. But we'll discuss that later on, Declan, sometime.
We shall indeed.
When the curfew
and
lifts.
And the immortal words of Dave Allen, good night, and may your God go with you.
I couldn't put it better myself. Take care. Bye.
The old nostalgia, the old sentiment, you can't beat it. When the guy said the time that Brady Gallagher played the hall here, there wasn't a dry seat in the house. They all played here. The first theatrical production that went on here, as far as we can determine, would have been about 1918. Production of Con the Shockron, and several times when people needed money, they always put on a production of the Pope and Kelly Buck. Peter McGovern told me there was a man called Tom Tierney, who was a barber in John Street and produced plays here in the late 20s. Those days plays come up 1 or 2 years whenever they felt like it. And it was not until the establishment of the Omagh Players in 1934 that any sort of regular theatre became part of our scene. And a dear gentleman called F.G. Nugent of this town was a prominent producer with the Omagh Players here in the years just before the war. The 40s were a great period and always associated with the late Paddy Bogues, and a great repertory company of players they had about them. One can only remember some of them no longer with us. Peter himself, McGovern, Kathleen Given, Michael Gormley, Kathleen Sheffield, Paddy Massey, and various other wonderful men who worked at the sets and the painting, and Johnny McLaren, Bobby Chesters, people who gave their entire energies and free time to put on shows to the people in Omagh. The late George Rogers, who lit plays on this show for many, many years. People like Frank McCrory, Martin Mailer, who conducted and got together orchestras for many, many years. In the 1950s, of course, more about and on, the great pantomimes were ever associated with Paddy Laird. There was one thing that people remember this hall for. It was those wonderful pantomimes of the 1950s. Scriptwriter, chief of staff, along with colleagues like late Frank Ball. And it's tremendous that Paddy Laird is here to share with us tonight the hall that must give him so many memories. Boys' clubs, reviews that were mentioned in Jackie McGill's poem. Wonderful stuff. Productions by youth clubs here, Showboat, Oklahoma, Desert Song, Bohemian Girl. Theatre company called the Omagh Arts Theatre Society that produced wonderful thrillers and comedies here. In the years after the war, the work of Joe Keating with the Omagh Players in the 1960s. Paddy Laird himself winning awards all up and down the country with Save and The Field, plays like that. In later years, and up to last week even, the Omagh Players, Kathleen Hines, wonderful cast of people, keeping the flag of Omagh drama flying throughout the north and throughout the entire island. And this theatre is a wonderful old place tonight when it's full, but even when it's empty, and you gain access to it and you sit here, it is haunted. To say there's a ghost in the town hall, they only say that when someone goes missing backstage, but when you consider the amount of energy that has been expended, not only by performers and singers and actors and dancers, but also the audience. This over 80 years or so, we have left some of our psyche and then some of our soul onto the walls and the roof of this great old hall. And when it goes, we will certainly miss it, because all our memories and all our yesterdays are here. I'm also struck by the fact that apart from the theatre, that the front of the hall, which was the original Ulster Bank, I'll not confuse you, was the centre of administration of the former Omagh Urban District Council for something like 70 years, and its successors. And the archives tell of wonderful meetings. One night there was a proposal to raise Bell's Bridge, and one councillor said, "That's too expensive, why don't we just lower the level of the river?" Strange physics, that. They used to let houses at the council meeting. Somebody asked the councillor, "How was it done?" He says, "Well, it's very fair actually. All the names go into the hat. Those whose names are pulled out get a house. The rest of them are illuminated." Before the council put up these little benches that people sit on, a vote of congratulation was given to a voluntary body who used to put them up. That was named as the Rosary Club. I think he meant the Rotary Club, but his heart was in the right place. In more recent years, I believe they were thinking of putting gondolas, is it, on the ornamental pond at the leisure centre. Somebody said, "How many? 24? Let's just get 2 and let them breed." Underneath there. Underneath this hall, of course, there was to be a very convenient and familiar public conveniences. Were being renovated sometime in the early 1950s. We're talking about urinals. One of the councillors said, yes, don't forget to put in a couple of arsenals as well. Such was local government as we knew it in the council chamber next door. We got a laugh there too over the years, kept the papers going.
For those of you who are not sure about the Garda Clare Pipe Band, they're based just outside Beara, which I'm sure you all know is outside Omagh here, but for the listeners on Highland Radio, it's just about 6 miles outside Omagh, and the band is based there, and they've been going now for quite a number of years. I don't exactly know how long, but I think it exceeds the 50-year mark. So these guys are piping, some of them maybe not just as long as the 50 years, but there's a few of them not far off it right now. And I'm not going to say who. But the next selection that they're going to move on and play here, it's their medley selection. And this is a selection that the band will be playing at the competitions throughout the summertime, which are organised throughout the north of Ireland and also in the south and in Scotland as well. And they're organised under the auspices of the Royal Scottish Pipe Band Association. And these guys here compete in the Grade 3 competition. And this selection that they're going to play for you now is their medley selection. And there's a number of tunes which are entitled, kicking off with a hornpipe called The Walrus. There's Dalnahassick, The Pigeon on the Gate, Donald Ross of Vancouver, The Hag at the Kiln, The Irish Chase, Flee the Glen, and Dr. Gillick. Now, there's some of these tunes have got very interesting titles, and I'm sure there's a story behind every one of them, but we haven't time here tonight to go into each one of them. So put your hands together for Garda Clare Pipe Band. Garda Clare band certainly getting warmed up there with that medley selection. The next tune that the band is going to play is touched with a little bit of sadness. As we all know, back the sad event of the shooting of the young children at Dunblane. And in Scotland, a gentleman composed this tune in memory of those children. And the band here this evening are going to play it for you. And it's entitled The Bells of Dunblane. Well, thank you all very much for your appreciation here this evening, and these guys here on stage certainly enjoyed playing for you here this evening. And as they leave their stage, your appreciation once again. Thank you very much.
The night is only a pup, as the fella said. You ain't heard nothing yet. Memories of the old fish in Omagh. Started about 1930, as far as I know. It was the greatest rain-making event that Omagh ever knew. For every time they put the fish on out in the field, it always did rain, and they always came back to the town hall. In those days, only half the hall had fixed seating. The front half of it was available for boxing tournaments and bazaars and what have you. But the old fish was, of course, always associated with traditional music, and one or two in particular families in this town. It was a great regret that we note the passing of Felix Kearney, who played here maybe the same tune dozens of times on the same day for an interminable series of dancers. Felix Kearney Sr., God rest him, died some 20 years ago. But to sing one of his immortal ballads, The Hills Above Drumquin, will you welcome, please, Margaret McElhone. Margaret.
God bless the hills of Donegal, I have heard their praises sung in days long gone beyond recall, when I was very young. Then I would pray to see a day before life's course is run, when I could sing the praises of the hills above Drumquin. Sure, I love the hills of Dewish, be they heather clad or lea, the wooded lands of Cooil and the Forth on Doonaree, the green-clad slopes of Kerlish as they meet the setting sun, descending in its glory on the hills above Drumquin. Ah, Drumquin, you're not a city, but you're all the world to me. Your lot I will not pity, should you never grander be. For I love you as I knew you, when from school I used to run on my homeward journey through you to the hills above Drumquin. I have seen the Scottish Highlands, they have beauties wild and grand. I have journeyed through the lowland, it's a cold and heartless land. But I always toiled content, for when each hard day's work was done, then my heart went back at sunset to the hills above Drumquin. When the winds across Drumbarley make the fields a yellow blaze, and the heather turns to purple on my native Dressog braes, when the sandstone rocks of Claramore are glistening in the sun, then nature's at its grandest on the hills above Drumquin. Ah, this world, it's sad and dreary, and the tasks of life are sore. My feet are growing weary, I may never wander more, but I want to rest in Longfield when the sands of life are run, on the sheltered side of Dewish, 'neath the hills above Drumquin.
Ladies and gentlemen, during the interval I was up at the chapel, and when I was coming out, I met this lady, and she took a dash up during the interval as well. And she says to me, why don't you tell the story about the wee fella that found the sash? And I says, the whole country has heard that. She says, if you don't tell that story, she says, I'll never speak to you again. She says, as a matter of fact, I'll not go to another concert in the town hall. I says, that'll be all right. And you know, the story is so long on the road that nobody, I'm sure, has heard it. At least if you've heard it in pubs and somewhere else. And it is, you know, you've heard it, I'm sure, quite frequently about the young Catholic fellow, about 7 or so age. And after the Drumcree carry on, he was walking down the road and he found this sash. And he put it on him and he started marching down the road and into his house. And as soon as his mother said, well, you for God's sake, take that bloody thing off you, she said. You'll get us into trouble. Take it out, she says, to the bin and throw it out in the bin. And he was going out to the bin and he met his granny. And the granny says, where in the name of God did you get that damn... Take it off, she says, and throw it on the skip down the road there. And he was going down the road to the skip and he met his father. And the father says, God... And this time, carry on like this, he says, and you're running about with a sash. Get it off you, he says. Take it up and burn it. And the wee fellow says, I'm just about fed up with this, he says. I've only been an orangeman for a half an hour, and he says, and I've been rereaded 3 times since then. Well, it's not bad, but it's clean. The other story that I was going to tell, John hadn't asked me to tell this one. It was about the Catholic girl that was marrying the Protestant fellow. And the mother says, you know, I don't mind you marrying this Protestant fellow, but she says, I'll tell you what, make sure there's no orange regalia or anything about the house. Mother, don't you be worrying about it, she says, because we have come to an agreement. I won't have any statues about the house or anything like that, and the 2 years will get on all right. So they're married, and about 3 months afterwards, the mother went down to the house, and here on the mantelpiece was this beautiful big picture, about 3 foot wide and about 2 foot deep, of King Bully crossing the Boyne. And the mother says, excuse me, what's going on here? I thought you said he wasn't going to put any orange pictures or regalia. She says, that's not an orange picture. Of course it is, she says. That's King Willie crossing the Boyne. Well, God damn him, she says. He told me it was Lester Piggott. Ladies and gentlemen, our next artist is a man that I have known quite some time. I've known him since he was a young boy. He was always very keen on music. And he loved singing since he was a child. And he tells me that his first appearance in this town hall was in 1948. That's some time ago. And he won a talent contest then. And the magnificent prize was the sum of £3. Not good money for that time. And he won another £5 in a contest in St. Lucia Barracks up on the Derry Road. I had the pleasure of having him in our pantomimes in the 1950s. And when he left the pantomimes, he went on the road professionally with his own group called the True Tones. Later on, his popularity grew so much that he formed another band called Paddy and the Sperns. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. He too is in semi-retirement, but he still finds the time to perform for charity functions and for weddings and such like. And it is my pleasure to introduce Paddy to you. He is here to sing his first song, and it's going to be Omagh, My Own Hometown. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to give a good Omagh District welcome to Paddy Gormley.
Well, it's many and long years ago I left my native shore, and I said goodbye to all my friends and the wee girl I adore. Now I'm tired of the city life, I've lost the urge to roam, so I'm coming back to Omagh in the county of Tyrone. I still recall the court as tall, Gartmore and Gallows Hill, to walk again up Kelvin Road out of Mead would be a thrill, and to wander round by Irish Town, Campsie and Camone, with friends so kind I left behind and on my Tyrone. Well, the times were bad and the work was scarce. The young men went away. Some crossed the sea to England, some to the USA. And I was one amongst them who had to earn a pound. With aching heart I had to part with dear old Omagh Town. But I still recall the courthouse tall, Gartmore and Gallows Hill. To walk again up Kelvin Road, to meet would be a thrill. And to wander round by Irish Town, Campsie and Camone, with friends so kind left behind and all my Tyrone. But now I'm coming back again with riches in full store. I'll build a little cottage just outside Compered, and my Mary too is waiting the day when I come home to settle down in Omagh, the king of old Tyrone. I still recall the old town hall, Gartmore and Gallows Hill. For to walk again up Kelvin Road, to meet would be a thrill. And to wander round by Irish Town, Campsie and Camone, with friends so kind I left behind and oh my Tyrone. With friends so kind I left behind and oh my Tyrone. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This time now, I'm going to sing a song from the show Calamity Jane. It's the Black Hills of Dakota. And anyone who knows the words, sing it with me, please. Thank you. Take me back to the Black Hills of Dakota, to the beautiful Indian country that I love. Lost my heart in the Black Hills of Dakota, where the pines are so high that they touch the sky above. When I get that lonesome feeling and I'm miles away from home, I hear the voice of the mystic mountains calling me back home. So take me back to the Black Hills of Dakota, to the beautiful Indian country that I love. And when I get that lonesome feeling and I'm miles away from home, I hear the voice of the mystic mountains calling me back home. So take me back to the Black Hills of Dakota, to the beautiful Indian country that I love, to the beautiful Indian country that I love. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, this is one song that a good friend of mine sang, and he's called Joseph Locke. And there's only him, myself, ever could hit the high notes in this. Here we are. My heart is broken, but what can I? Such pride inside me is woken. I'll try my best not to cry by and by when the final farewells must be spoken. I'll join the Legion, that's what I'll do. And in some far distant region where human hearts are staunch and true, I shall start my life anew. Goodbye, it's time I sought the foreign line where I may find their hearts more kind than I left behind. I go, I know, to fight the savage foe, although I know I'll be sometimes missed by the girls I've kissed. In some Amazonian French dominion I shall do my bit, and I'll fall for the flag if I must. Where the desert sands are bright and handy, I'll be full of grit, and you won't see my heels full of dust. I'll do or die, or know the reason why when told. I boldly oppose last stand for the fatherland. Goodbye, goodbye, I wish you all a lost goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, I wish you all a last goodbye. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thanks to Ray, the drummer there. Thank you.
I was just thinking that if you could press a button tonight and land yourself in Broadway or the West End, would you swap places? I'm bloody sure you wouldn't. You couldn't touch this, imagine, and all the artists from Omagh. Well, tonight we're coming very near the end. In fact, we've 3 acts left for you tonight, and really it's been a super show. Just a nice big round of applause again for them all. Haven't they been really brilliant? Really, really brilliant. It's a pity it's coming to the end, you know. Don't sleep on us now in the last 10 minutes. The next man I heard of in 1980, I think 1980, 81, I remember bringing the children down to see this man in action, was in Joseph's amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Was one of them, Jesus Christ Superstar, Paddy Phillips and Sean. They were the producers of them show. 2 men that deserve a lot of credit too for them shows. But this is one man that was taking the lead part that night. And this man, no matter how many single artists you see on stage, and I've seen a lot of individual artists entertaining on their own on stage. I don't care where you go, where you don't go, what theatres you've been to, what theatres you go to. You won't touch this man for an individual act. Singer, guitar-wise, everything. Songwriter too, may I add, because he's written some great songs. But to me, if this man doesn't get within inside your veins, well then you've got a problem. You must be tone deaf. I have great pleasure in presenting another great lump of talent in this town here that we have. Just imagine Paddy Gormley. Now we're down into the modern age, and this man's entertaining people. The only thing about this man, he didn't go full-time professional, but if he did, he would have been a superstar. Put your hands together for John Taggart.
I close my eyes, drew back the curtains, big up, to see for certain what I thought I knew. Far, far away, someone was weeping, but the world was sleeping. Any dream will do. I wore my coat of golden lining, bright colors shining, wonderful and new. And in the east, the dawn was breaking, but the waking. Any dream will do. Help me sing, come on. A crash of drums, a flash of light, my golden cloak flew out of sight. The colors faded into darkness, I was left alone. May I return to the beginning, begun. But the light is dimming, and so the voices too. Help me sing, come on. The world and I, we are still waiting, still hesitating. Any dream will do. Give me my colored coat, my amazing colored coat. Give me my colored coat, my amazing colored Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for singing.
Right from the first day, one man stood alone, and somehow he missed what didn't exist. How could he have known? He looked all around him, and he lifted his head, for he heard a voice and rose to rejoice as somebody said, "This place needs a woman's touch to share in the plan, for without a woman's touch, life don't mean much to a man." I was a drifter who couldn't be tamed, so reckless and wild, lost like a child whose dreams never came. Then I felt the pleasure of love's happiness. One look in your eyes and I realized I'd truly been blessed. Thank God for a woman's touch to share in the plan, for it took my woman's touch to make me feel like a man. Lord, without a woman's touch, life don't mean much to a man.
a man here that I'm introducing to you. You'll go back a long way with this man too, but I don't know what kind of tablets he's taken, but I wish I was taking the same kind of tablets because he looks a million. He actually looks the same as when I used to look out up and Derek and the Sounds, and I remember them playing in the Orpheus in Belfast and the doors closed and they were massive band. I can see them yet with the lemon suits, each one of them all about 20 years of age, 19, 18, whatever it was. But anyway, Derek left. This business, they say that never goes away. There's no cure for it. You can't get away from it. But owned a business and his mother's business and his own business in Fintona. He packed the band eventually, but it never really went away. And 5 years ago, he came back and he sang at this church function. He sang at that church function. Somebody asked him to do a spot in this concert, a spot in that concert. The next thing he was back, he was recording. The next thing he was in Nashville recording. Next thing he's back home again. As he said himself, suppose roused with the wife and his mother and the business. But he pushed all to the one side. He's back now with his own band. He's back now with his own manager, Jimmy Johnson. The man is getting bigger all the time for him. And for by being a good singer and a good entertainer in this business, it helps, as I say always, to be a nice person. Doesn't matter how good you are, what walk of life that you're in, if you don't have the wee bit of manners and be a nice, likeable person. And I can tell you one thing, this man has got them all. They don't come any nicer than this guy. Put your hands together for Derek Mahaffey.
Let's get together tonight. I got some money in my jeans and I'm really gonna spend it right. Well, I've been doing my homework all week long. Now the house is empty and the folks are gone. Woo! Come on, everybody. Come on. Well, my baby's number one, but I'm gonna dance at 3 or 4. The house will be shaking with the bare feet slapping on the floor. Well, when the record starts spinning, well, I can't stand still. If your mother won't dance when your sister will. Woo! Come on, everybody. Come along, baby, there's a whole lot of shaking going on. Come on, baby, there's a whole lot of shaking going on. I ain't faking, there's a whole lot of shaking going on. I said shake, baby, shake. Oh, shake, baby, shake. Yeah, shake it, baby, shake. Oh, shake, baby, shake. Come on over. There's a whole lot of shaking going on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I can't say good evening, I'll have to say good morning, everybody. Hope you're all still enjoying this. Lots of good music still to come. I looked up today an old poster. I was trying to figure out the first time ever I had the pleasure of singing here. We were all at school together, and I discovered the poster, and it's 1958. It was 4 shillings to get it, and it was to do with the Ulster Savings. Was there anybody out there who was here on that night? 4 shillings to get in it, and we're raising money for Cunny Warren Home, and it's now there. I would like to sing a song from my current album, and I have a particular reason for doing this song tonight, but the reason that I recorded it with 2 others on the album, and I think you've heard P.O. McCann play it on Highland Radio and Brenton Maxwell. As you all know, Jimmy Kennedy was born in Omagh. You all know that, yes? And this is one of his songs. I want to play it at a very special request for Maureen. And it's a song, thank you. It's a song he wrote when he was in Port Stewart with his sister, looking at the sun going down one evening. They saw a little boat, and sails looked red, and he wrote the song Red Sails in the Sunset. If you know the words, sing along. Red sunset, way out on the sea. Oh, carry my love home safely to me. She sailed at the dawning. All day I've been blue. Red sails in the sunset. I'm trusting in you. Swift winds you must borrow. Make straight for the shore. We'll marry tomorrow, and she'll go sailing no more. Red sails in the sunset, way out on the sea. Oh, carry my loved one home safely to me. Red sails in the sunset, way out on the sea. Oh, carry my loved one home safely to me. She sailed at the dawning. All day I've been blue. Red sails in the sunset. I'm trusting in you. Red sails in the sunset. I'm trusting in you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd just like to mention a few people, if I may. When I was outside earlier on, I saw two nurses, that's Patricia Baugh and Marion Armstrong, and they were bringing in some ladies, two of whom I happen to know, who are in the Harold Macaulay nursing home. That's Mrs. Crow and Mrs. Carnew, who's originally from Fintona. And I saw a lot of faces out there that I knew who were coming in. There's one person in particular that my parents used to take me along to see the pantomimes here, and I remember Jack and the Beanstalk, and Dickie Kennedy is down there somewhere. The next song is also a special request for my mother-in-law, Mrs. Hazel Lyons, down there, and she and Mrs. Crow are very friendly, and my wife Shirley. This is a track off the current album. And if you're listening to Highland and some of the other radio stations, it's one of the gospel tracks. If you feel like clapping your hands or if you know the words, sing along. It's called When God Dips His Love in My Heart. When God dips his pen of love in my heart, writes my soul a message he wants me to know. His spirit all divine fills this sinful soul of mine. When God dips his love in my heart, well, they said I wouldn't tell it to a living soul how he brought salvation when he made me whole. But I found I couldn't hide such love as Jesus did impart. Well, it makes me laugh, it makes me cry, sets my sinful soul on fire. When God dips his love in my heart, Sometimes, though the way is dreary, dark and cold, some unburdened sorrow keeps me from my goal. I go to God in prayer, I can always find Him there. He whispers sweet peace to my soul. Well, I said I wouldn't tell it to a living soul how He brought salvation when He made me whole. But I found I couldn't hide such love as Jesus did impart. Well, it makes me laugh, it makes me cry, it sets my sinful soul on fire when God dips His love in my heart. Well, I said I wouldn't tell it to a living soul how He brought salvation when He made me whole. But I found I couldn't hide such love as Jesus did impart. Well, it makes me laugh, it makes me cry, it sets my sinful soul on fire when God dips His love in my heart. When God dips His love in my heart. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. I would like to say that for those of you who don't know, that album that the tracks are from, first of all, we'll have it on sale over here in cassette or tape if you want to come up afterwards for pictures when the show's over. It was recorded in Moat in County Westmeath. That's with Tony Allen of Foster and Allen, and he helped me a lot to pick the tunes and listen to a whole lot of things. We got it narrowed down to those songs, and we managed to get it right because that song reached the top 50 in the European chart through the middle of last year. And there's another song which I'll be playing later, and I'll tell you it was number 1 last year, which made the record very successful. And we got a call, or at least my manager Jimmy Johnson got a call 2 weeks ago from Sweden to ask us to go on a promotional tour with their new album coming out. And it's on the strength of the fact that that album, which I'm singing these songs from, is still in the Swedish charts 47 weeks since it has come out, and it's still there, so they're going to take us over there this time. So just before I finish off, because Brian Call's coming after this, and Pio will be calling to talk to you in a second, I would like to thank Frank Sweeney particularly and Omagh Council for giving me the opportunity to come here this evening. I just hope that when the new hall opens that they'll remember to ask me back again, and I hope all you people come. And just in case I don't get a chance to say so, Highland Radio have been extremely good to my band and me by playing this record, and in particular P.O. McCann. I would have to say I'm very pleased and very happy to have a friend like P.O. I've known him from way back in the Claxton show band days, and he never forgets when I have a record out, but he gave me a lot of encouragement with this. And of course there's one other person in the back, Frank Chisholm, and he's always prodding me along and listening to songs and saying, are you still working, are you singing? And he did a lot of singing on the previous cassette which we have here, and his band did all the playing. So without people like that, I would have trouble getting all the things done, so that's who's doing it. Thank you. I would like to finish my part of the show, if I may, with another song by Jimmy Kennedy. You like to hear another Jimmy Kennedy song? And just to very quickly tell you that in October last year, I managed to get to Nashville for the first time, and my new album is completed, which P.O. referred to, and hopefully it'll be out within the next month. But they were most amazed to know that they've all been singing this next song since Bob Wills started it in 1940 with his Texas Playboy Band, and all the country acts like Mo Bandy have recorded this. And I was able to tell them the man that wrote it was born in Omagh, where I come from. And it's called South of the Border, Down Mexico Way. South of the border, down Mexico way, that's where I fell in love when stars above came out to play. Now as I wander, my thoughts ever stray south of the border, in old Spanish lace. Just for a tender while I kissed the smile upon her face. It was fiesta, and we were so gay. South of the border, down Mexico way. Then she sighed as she whispered manana, never dreaming that we were parting. And I lied as I whispered manana, for our tomorrows never came. South of the border, I rode back one day. In a veil of white, by candlelight, she knelt to pray. The mission bells told me that I mustn't stay. South of the border, down Mexico way. South of the border, down Mexico way. That's where I fell in love, when stars above came out to play. Now as I wander, my thoughts ever stray. South of the border, down Mexico way. South of the border, down Mexico way. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Fair play, Derek. Super show from that man. Super. Lovely. He's singing better than ever, isn't he? I'll have to say to Mrs. Mahaffey, get yourself a new manager for shop and let that man out onto the market, because he really is singing absolutely brilliant. And what a nice person he is indeed. Well, we're coming to near the very end. This is my last saying hello to you. And before, thanks for being a lovely audience. You've really been very nice to all the artists, and you've been lovely. It's been a great party. As I said at the very start, it would be a party, and it has been. Well, I didn't know, nobody told me there was a comedian on this bill tonight. I couldn't believe it when I heard our comedian on full flight, because I thought Paddy Laird was just going to come on and do a few announcements. But this man has been so funny tonight. And when you meet him in the shop and you're going to buy something in the shop, mind you, a few years ago, he wasn't that funny. He'd say, that's it, McCann. Take it or leave it. But honestly, I never enjoyed a man like it tonight. He's told so many, many great jokes. It's really been very enjoyable listening to Paddy, and of course to Stephen McKenna too, who's a real historian. We had Stephen on the radio live there, so give Stephen a nice round of applause too. He's really great. So what I'll do now is hand you back to our comedian. Maybe there's a few more jokes to tell you, and he'll be introducing our last act. Thank you very much. Thank you. Paddy Laird.
Thank you, Peel. Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting to the close of this evening. And I have to announce, first of all, that there has been a green purse, a sum of money, and it has been found by a Miss Helen Hunt. Miss Helen Hunt. And if the owner wants it back, you can go to Helen Hunt for it. I thought you were a wee bit slow there. It's that old. I heard that about 45 years ago, when I was 7. Do you want to? This is my last appearance too. No, well, it's not. Maybe I'll be here in the. Might be here tomorrow. Anyway, would you like a couple of quickies? There's one about two old spinsters, and they had retired at the same time together. So they thought they would go out to live in the country, so they bought this cottage out in the country. And you're right up on the shelf there, yeah, right. And they thought that they would go to live in the country, so they went out and they bought this nice wee cottage in the country, away from everything, and they were there for about 12 months or more. And one sister, Imelda, I think her name was, no, it was Agatha. She says to the other sister, she says, sister, do you not think, she says, we should get ourselves an animal? Which she says, sure, we don't know anything about. No, she says, I don't think we should get anything like cow because of the BSE, and I don't think we should get chickens for they're too hard to look after. And all. And she says, what about a wee pig? And the sister says, well, no, that's not a bad idea. So they went to the mart the next week, and they went down to the mart, and they bought themselves this sow. Did you hear it before, Mrs.? They went down and they bought this sow, and the man that they bought it from had it delivered to the house. And they had the sow, and the two old dears washed it, and they scrubbed it, and they scraped it, and they kept it clean, and they looked after it like a new wean. And they had it for about a year or a year and a half, and so on. One sister says to the other one night, she says, do you know we have hired Sarah the pig for now a long time, and she hasn't blessed us with any wee piggies? Do you think there's something wrong? The other sister says, well, now you're asking the wrong lady. I don't know anything about that either. So she says, I'll tell you what, we'll go up tomorrow and we'll ask the man away up over the hill, and maybe he could tell us. So they went up to the man up on the farm, way up over the hill, and they said, we have a wee piggy, and we think it's a sow. He says, are you sure? Well, she says, we're not sure, but we think, well, looking at parts of it, we think it's a sow. So anyway, he says, well, what's your problem? Well, she says, one of the sisters says, we have it for about a year and a half or so, and there are no wee piggies, no little piggy wiggies, and we're wondering if there's anything wrong with her. And he says, well, ladies, if you don't mind me asking you, have you introduced it to a boyfriend? And one sister looked at the other and said, what is he talking about? He says, I mean, have you introduced it to a man pig? No. Well, he says, you'd need to introduce her to a man pig. Does that mean we'll have to buy a man pig? No, he says, I'll tell you what, I have the very pig here in my piggery that'll do the job for you. So she says, are you sure? And he says, she says, one of the sisters says, will there be a charge for this? Well, I usually charge £20, he says. But in your case, he says, and seeing you don't know too much about this, carry on, I'll charge you £10. What'll we do? Well, bring it up tomorrow. And if you bring it up tomorrow, I'll introduce it to my pig. So the girls put the sow into the wheelbarrow. And the two of them wheeled it up the hill to your man's house. You're way ahead of me, Mrs. They wheeled it up to your man's house, and they went in, and your man says, just leave it to me now. He says, I'll bring her out, and I'll put her in with my pig. So they went and put her in, and the girl says, well, now, what'll we do? And he says, you do nothing. There's nothing you can do. Oh, you just have to leave it to themselves and let nature take its course. He says, going into the house there, he says, and the wife will make you a cup of tea, and you can sit there for an hour. And we'll give it an hour, at least, he says, give them an hour. So after the hour was up, the two dogs went out to get Sarah the pig. And Sarah wasn't too happy about coming away. Whatever was, anyway, she wasn't too pleased about having to leave. So anyway, they took her down home, and he said, before they left, he said, now, how you know that you're going to have wee piggies? In the morning when you look out, if she's eating the grass, there's going to be no pigs. But if she's rolling in the muck, everything's right. So they looked out the next morning, and there was Sarah the pig eating the grass. So one sister says to her, what are we going to do? Well, she says, we'll have to go back again. Sure, I mean, he said that, we'll have to go back. But they says, that's another £10. Which I said, we'll go back anyway. So they went back anyway the next day. Back again, with a piggy. And your man says, we'll give them 2 hours this time. So they waited for the 2 hours and then back home. Now he says, in the morning, have a look out in the morning. If she's eating the grass, no piggies. But if she's rolling in the muck, you're all right. They looked out, and there was Sarah, eating the grass. Not a sign of anything. Eating the grass, and one sister said, what are we going to do? We'll just try her, she says, one sister says, we'll just try her for another time. So they wheeled her up again, put her under the wire, and wheeled her up again. And Sarah seemed a bit anxious to get in, beside your man anyway. And I don't know why, but anyway. And the brother, and he says, now, take your time, don't rush these things. And when they went out to collect her, there was Sarah sitting at the door of the piggery, a big smile on her face. And anyway, my man says, take her home and see what's happening in the morning. So the two sisters were talking about it, and one sister says to that, look, Agatha, I can't bear to look out. Will you go to the window and look out? So Agatha went up to the window in her nightie and looked out. And the other sister says, do you see her? Of course, she says, oh, I do see her. And she says, is she eating the grass? No, she's not eating the grass. Oh, great. Is she mullicking about in the mug? No, not at all. She says, and what is she doing? She says, she's sitting in the wheelbarrow waiting for a lift. Ladies and gentlemen, we now come to the last act of the evening. And in actual fact, I don't think it's necessary for me to make an introduction for this man because he's so well known. He is one of our most popular and sought after vocalists. And he has performed extensively throughout the British Isles and America. He was one of our first speciality acts during the early years of our pantomimes. He says his first appearance in this town hall was playing the mouth organ. And I am very glad that he didn't succeed with the mouth organ. If he had, we might have never had the pleasure of hearing his voice. You know who I mean. And Brian has asked me to tabulate, or he has given me this list, and he'd like me to read it for you, and I do so quite willingly and with great pleasure. As this is the last programme, it's only right that whatever recognition is there, he should get it. And if I can read it, Brian, I'd certainly do this for you. His pantomime appearances were from 1950 to 1960. And prior to that, 1949, he was in a crew called the Lifeboat Crew. It was in a song written by the late and great Frank McCrory. And he's appeared in many Easter reviews, organised by the late Father Shields. After his town hall appearances, Brian went on in the music business in the form of dance bands, and over the last 37 years has appeared in the Carnegie Hall in New York City, the Royal Albert Hall in London, the Irish Concert Hall in Dublin, the Opera House in Cork, the King's Hall in Belfast, the Ulster Hall in Belfast, and the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee. These are some of Brian's biggest and best known appearances, and all throughout the world, and all this adds up to all that dance halls throughout Ireland as well, and as well as the United Kingdom. Add to that Brian's 6 #1 records in the Irish charts, and Brian has come a long way since his first appearance in the town hall.
People like me, from the snows of Alaska down to sunny Tennessee, New York City to Los Angeles, takes people like you to make people like me. Those skies may turn gray for a while, you can brighten each day with a smile. Wherever you go, I want you to know, takes people like you to make people like me. Hey! Takes a people like you to make people like me, from the snows of Alaska down to sunny old Tralee. From New York City to the Isle of Innisfree, it takes people like you to make people like me. Those skies may turn gray for a while, you can brighten each day with a smile. Wherever you go, I want you to know, takes people like you to make people like me. Takes people like you to make people like me. Thank you. The reason why I picked that little song to open up, because I'm using it as a signature tune this last sort of 25 years or so in the dance bands. And basically, when you think about it, it takes people, I mean, yourself, who came tonight and have been coming over to shows over all the years, and for whatever reason, whether they like you singing or what they read in the paper or hear on the radio or whatever, combination of all those things, and they get to like you or the band, but you can go nowhere with people stop coming or come in small numbers. You don't be long been told by the promoter that you're not wanted anymore. So
when the people keep coming, that's just keeps you alive. You need a few pound to live on, but without the stimulant of the people's support and first name, I got to know so many people over the last 37 years I'm in bands that I could live in Galway or Sligo or Belfast, because I know an awful lot of people, most of the people. I was sitting reminiscing tonight, I was nearly in tears when Paddy Gormley was on, not because Paddy was singing great and always a good friend and that, but I was reminiscing about Paddy Mossy and Peter McGovern and Dickie Kennedy and the different people that I had watched here from I was a child and over the years coming into the town hall. But one thing that lifted me a wee bit tonight, Paddy Laird was real friendly. I'll tell you, if you had been here in the pantomime days back when I was used to sing a speciality from 1950, when there'd be in 3 sets or 4 parts of the pantomime, and then they pull the curtain, I'd come on and sing a song. I was only about this height. I was about 3, as they say in Belfast, about 3 years old. Mickey Morgan used to say 3, he didn't say 3, he said 3. But no, and Paddy that time, as the years went on doing shows, and he'd come into the dressing room, and you sort of thought you'd done your best, but he was always looking for more. What's happening here? You just went out in that matinee today, look, listen. And I'd all wait a minute. And you'd walk out, you'd be, oh my God. So he scared us into submission and made us rise above what we thought we weren't even capable of doing, and come out and sing better, or whatever you had to do, make your best shot. But in all those years, he's sort of been like that. Even you meet him on the street there, Paddy, how you doing? Hello, how you coming? No, he's not that friendly. He keeps the rises this high. But tonight we were real friendly, so it was nice too. But anyhow, as I say, reminiscing, and the memories that's here, God rest my father. I remember him missing his Christmas dinner in 1957, 40 years ago. We worked maybe 6 or 7 weeks prior to the pantomime. He done most of the scenery. And the late R.J. Chesters was a painting contractor, better known locally as Bobby Chesters. He'd done an awful lot of the painting, all the groundwork for all the different scene changes and so on. And another person deceased. To mention these because they were very dear to me. Our relation, the granduncle of Artie McGlynn's, Jerry Kearney, done some of the greatest painting. Hollywood or Broadway or whatever wouldn't have equalled it. It certainly wouldn't beat it. It was just unbelievable, the artistry. And the late Father Seamus Shields when he came. Thank you. And all the other actors and actresses, like from Kathleen Given to right through to a cousin of mine, Margaret McCrory, who was a principal boy at a time, and my 2 sisters, Kathleen and Margaret, who was also in the shows, and my oldest brother, Gabriel, who was here, and the mouth organ band. I was sitting across here, myself and Kieran Young, and who else? We were sitting little paper hats and a wee cardboard star, and you seen this in the Miller's pictures, and you thought you were Roy Rogers or Gene Autry or whatever. But those sixpenny days, you know, when you didn't even see the girl that gave you the ticket, you used to go down Miller's Entry and slap up the sixpence, one, and you felt about and got the ticket, and you went down to this. You went down like this, you know, you come out of the cinema after the Western, beating yourself to get home a bit quicker to get your dinner, give yourself a slap on the backside to get up the hill a bit quicker. You thought you were actually on it. You actually believed you were on a horse, you know, when you were that young. But there was some beautiful times here, and Bobby Chester as well used to do, of course, the bazaar here and all that type of thing. But all the theatrical shows and the musicals and so on has been a place of, well, this was the Hollywood, this was the Carnegie Hall, this was everything happened here. And it's just so sad, but of course, like everything comes to an end. And I'm just happy to be here along with several other people tonight there. And we're going to do I forget now, what was it that I say? We song that I recorded recently. It's popular, thankfully, everywhere I go to do a spot of singing. It's called Reared on the Rose of Kildare. We'll not keep you.
Oh, Johnny was born in a mansion down in the county of Clare. Rosie was born by the roadside somewhere in County Kildare. Destiny brought them together on the road near Killorglin one day. Neath her bright testicle she was singing, and she stole this young heart away. For she sang, meet me tonight by the campfire, come with me over the hill. Let us be married tomorrow, please let me whisper I will. What if the neighbors are talking? Who cares if your friends stop and stare? You'll be proud to be married to Rosie, who was reared on the roads of Kildare. Think of the parents who reared you. Oh, think of the family name. How can you marry a gypsy? Oh, what a terrible shame. Parents and friends, stop your pleading. Don't worry about my affair, for I've fallen in love with the gypsy who was reared on the roads of Kildare. For she sang Meet me tonight by the campfire, come with me over the hill. Let us be married tomorrow, please let me whisper I will. What if the neighbors are talking? Who cares if your friends stop and stare? You'll be proud to be married to Rosie, who was reared on the roads of Kildare. Johnny went down from his mansion just as the sun had gone down, turning his back on his kinfolk, likewise his dear native town. Facing the roads of old Ireland with the gypsy he loved so sincere, when he came to the light of the campfire, these are the words he did hear. For she sang Meet me tonight by the campfire, come with me over the hill. Let us be married tomorrow, please let me whisper I will. What if the neighbors are talking? Who cares if your friends stop and stare? You'll be proud to be married to Rosie, who was reared on the roads of Kildare. You'll be proud to be married to Rosie, who was reared on the roads of Kildare.
Thank you. I remember one thing and sitting stands out again, sitting reminiscing, talking to Stephen there and Paddy and so on. But I remember my mother, I hope she's still here because it's getting late for her. And she goes to bed about 11, I think, normally. But it's only 12:05. We're not so bad. My wife, I forgot to change the watch, the new time, summertime. It's older. What time is it anyway? But she bought me these nice, I forget that was Brother O'Connell. At a wee little choir. There's a many, a whole stack of us was in it anyway. But there was new trousers bought, short grey trousers, and a new white shirt, and a wee plastic belt with a buckle on it. And boy, I was you felt really good. I was 8 at the time. But I remember we had they done the matinee, we done great, and then there was tea and buns and a whole pile of stuff. And I remember getting the hands all jam, and I was pushing this wee belt on, and got to come up on the stage, and the whole thing was all red with jam all around the place. And my mother, she was going to be at it, and I wasn't worrying much about the shirt, but was getting home after, because she, you get the thump for dirty in the shirt after her going to such pains getting it already. But again, reminiscing, sitting, I could see Joe Ferry standing down where the camera is there, and standing there, or standing at certain places where he stood, 3 places here, over there, at the door and up there, and he always stood very fixed, and he give you a good, "Hi, well, you're all right." And I said, "I'm a wee bit nervous tonight." Going, "What are you nervous about? If you couldn't sing like me now," he said, "you'd be nervous. But you can sing. What are you nervous about?" No, this kind of way. Give you a wee bit of encouragement all the time. But it's a sad time especially for the likes of Maureen Bonner. My father, I remember, made the pumpkin, the big coach in 1950. And that's lay up in the Crooked House for many years, probably still there. And then Paddy Gormley and so on. There were some great shows. It was just you couldn't, I haven't just the intellect to describe in detail what way I feel, but it was, I used to look forward to the pantomime or the East Review for months before it, counting the days, like, and every single night there was this place, the seats used to come right to here and the orchestra was in here, and the was just packed for all them shows. But it was, that was the old opium or the food of the people sort of thing here. It really kept you going throughout the year. So I will not keep you joking. I was thinking when Paddy Laird was on telling those stories, I said, good job I'm not coming on to tell jokes after him. But I will tell you one. And it mightn't go down too well. I was down one night, I heard a story, it was a priest told me it, so I think I'm reasonably in order, but it was this man and woman went in for a total one night in Longford, and we were playing. And as a matter of fact, this last Tuesday we played in Clonus, Thursday, Friday we were in Dublin, Saturday we were in the Moy Inn, and Sunday we were in Enniskillen. See, when you get to 41, the memory's not as good. But anyhow, this man and woman went in for a meal at this place anyway, and they sat down and the waiter came over and well, what are you having? And the man says, I'd like a nice, lovely, big, juicy T-bone steak. And the waiter says, what about the mad cow? He says, I don't know what you want, ask her yourself. And with the greatest respect to women, wouldn't offend a woman, never did in my life, but the dance was over in Longford and this woman came up, she says, Mr. Call, you stick to the singing. You insulted our table. And there was about 300 people at it, and she was the only one spoke. And I said, well, if I did, I'm very, very sorry, you know. And Vinny tipped me in the back. I was standing, Vinny was a bit closer about here with the drums. And he tipped me with a stick. And she's just walking away slightly. And I says, well, he says, you're probably never going to dance all night. She's in bad form. Which is what happened. I didn't see her on the floor once. But anyhow, she didn't. So I'll tell no more jokes. I'll try and stick to the singing. But to the person aforementioned there, and who done so much for me, was, if ever there was a friend and a mother, she's been it to me and to all the family. And there's, what, many of us, 13 of us. And there's no favourites at all, singing or otherwise. She always treated everybody at dead level. And she's here tonight, and she's just done so much for me over the years. In fact, her interest in the music and singing, and her brother, my late uncle Gerald Kiley, a brother of Ben Kiley's, helped to get me interested in singing in the very first place. I used to rave in Oman after the war with a cute case, and he'd have 78s of Count John McCormick, and he'd play them in this wind-up job when you put on the needle every time you played a record. You played Little Boy Blue and Sweetie She Sleeps, My Alice Fair and all that, and Macrusla and the lovely McCormick, greatest tenor in my opinion of all time. But anyway, that's where I got me interested in singing first, through my mother and Gerald and John McCormick. So I'm here all these 50 years later, or whatever age. If I check the birth certificate and all them to see just what age I tell people in the dances I'm 41, and then they all rise up and take a wee look at me. And then I tell them the truth, 43. But anyway, here's a song for my mother, and I hope you enjoyed it. It was the first record I made because of her, and my own daughter, first daughter is telling me.
I'll take you home again, Kathleen, to where your heart will feel no pain, and where the fields are fresh and green. Since first you were my bonny bride, the roses all have left your cheeks. I watch them fade away and die. Your voice is sad whene'er you speak, and tears bedim your loving eyes. Oh, I will take you back, Kathleen, to where your heart will feel no pain, and when the fields are fresh and green, I will take you to your home, Kathleen. Oh, I know you love me, Kathleen dear. Your heart was ever fond and true. I always feel when you are near that life holds nothing dear but you. The smiles that once you gave to me, I scarcely ever see them now. Though many, many times I see a darkening shadow on your brow, I will take you back, Kathleen, to where your heart will feel no pain. And when the fields are fresh and green, I will take you to your home, Kathleen. And when the fields are fresh and green, I will take you to your home, Kathleen. Thank you. I tell you what we'll do. Honestly, we'll not keep you now. We're okay. Band life, I could finish tonight in Killarney. It's over at 2. You're out of the hall at 3, half 3. And you drive 280 mile Duckin home at 11 in the morning. But that's my job when you're used to that. You people are used to getting up at 7 or half 7 or 8. And I'm not used to that kind of life. I've lived at night this last 37 years. And before that, not late too, spirit late. And where were you getting it? Anyway, we're going to do a song for people like, Mrs. Colton, the late Jerry as well, and who made a lot of costumes and helped as well for the shows. And people like that, and Lorna McLennan took part in a lot of shows. And there's several other I'm leaving out. Sarge Stephen done a whole list of whatever. Just hard to get in them all. Like. But it's just as, what can I say? The time the clock's run out, and that's it for here. And hopefully, as Derek I think said, maybe when the new place opens, we'll come back and give you another show. That'd be great. And hopefully that we're all here with the help of God. So we'll sing a wee sing-along singing. You can clap your hands, and everybody knows this. It's a song called The Pretty Little Girl from Omagh. Way up in the north and old Tyrone, there's a girl I long to call my own, the sweetest rose that Ireland's ever grown. And true as the moon and stars above, I've fallen head over heels in love. Pretty little girl from Omagh in the county of Tyrone. There's cute little girls in Ulster, oh, they're just as pretty in Monaghan. This to every Roman eye is known. And true as the moon and stars above, I've fallen head over heels in love. Pretty little girl from Omagh in the county of Tyrone. She wears my ring and tells her friends she's gonna marry me. Ah, best of all, she tells them all she's happy as can be. Oh, lucky me. Well, I don't know what you've done to me. There's nothing else my eyes can see with the pretty little girl from Omagh in the county of Tyrone. Here we go. I recall the yellow dress she wore as she strolled along the beach there all alone. And I knew it was my lucky day, 'cause she came there on holiday, that pretty little girl from Omagh in the county of Tyrone. There's cute little girls in Ulster, oh, they're just as pretty in Monaghan. This to every Roman eye is known. Now I guess that I'd be out of bounds, 'cause they're between those the northern towns. Pretty little girl from Omagh in the county of Tyrone. She wears my ring and tells her friends she's gonna marry me. Ah, best of all, she tells them all she's happy as can be. Oh, lucky me. Well, I don't know what you done to me. There's nothing else my eyes can see but the pretty little girl from Omagh in the county of Tyrone.
Thank you very much, Brian Cole. His voice hasn't lost any of its resonance. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our concert. And I would like to say what a lovely audience you've been. Seriously, on behalf of my colleagues, Stephen and Pio, the two bands, and all the artists that have appeared here this evening, I would like to thank you for your wonderful and your very warm reception. We certainly appreciated it. It was a great pleasure performing for you, and we thank you too for your own contribution that has made this a most enjoyable and a most momentous occasion. Some people say it's nice to be important, but I think it's more important to be nice. And you have been very nice to us this evening, and we thank you most sincerely. We're at the end, and the sad news is that after tonight, this hall will be closed. There will be no future stage productions in Omagh Town Hall. It will soon be demolished. And on behalf again of my age group, I say they may take away the bricks and the mortar, but they'll never take away the memories. Thank you. The good news is that it will be replaced with a new arts and theatre complex. It promises to be one of the most modern of its kind in this country. And we look forward to seeing it opening. And when it does open, my wish for all who use it and for the audiences who support them, that they may have the same pleasure and enjoyment as we have had over the years in this dear old town hall. Without labouring it, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to quote from Frank McCrory's final pantomime chorus. And it went like this. Soon the final curtain will be falling. Soon they'll dim the many lights so bright. And as you leave for home, you'll hear us calling. God bless you all. Good night. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Tribute to Brian Call. Turn back the pages of music and song and find a young man in his prime. He was just starting out, but would go on to be a legend in his own lifetime. No one thought then, Brian, old friend, you were anything more than a breeze. You were a square peg, often breaking a leg, with a habit of falling from trees. You would cycle like mad when you were a lad. That old bike was just you every day, and you lived to tell when you rode like hell straight through a shop window display. When you led our gang, you often sang and were proud to be in command, and we had belief in our own big white chief, who was born to have his own show band. But words of truth about days of our youth are not meant to slight your good name. You were one of the boys who had few toys, and you remembered in glory and fame. You didn't pretend your wild ways would mend when your dreams seemed like hot air, but they all came through for you, buckaroo. Now 3 decades on, you're still there. When the last cattle drive has finally arrived, it will be saddle up time and go free from the daily chores that have been yours, and head away from what used to be. For the road's been long in music and song, the years have all been up and go. Now it's time to ease and do as you please when you drive from your last rodeo. Omagh Town Hall. In 1915, you were dressed up like a queen when the Skins Army Band played you in. The year before began that terrible war. You survived to see it all happen again. Since then you became a household name, a grand place for the feis or a bazaar, where prizes were won and people had fun, away back in those days now afar. We cubs from school stood straight as a rule. On the stage they gave all heart and soul, and master wasn't best pleased as they coughed and sneezed when they recited some old rigmarole. Sure, this was the place to bring smiles to the face. It was like home, just one big family affair, when Mossy and Co. would stop the whole show with a jibe at someone sitting out there. Remember the cues at the Easter reviews. Remember the great concerts and plays, when a good hypnotist made up the vast list as he kept the full houses in a daze. Fighters, writers, and famous one-nighters, and great actors excelling here one time, and we were happy enough with good local stuff when they starred in our own pantomime. Now, inside these walls, cheers and catcalls will soon fade and then die away. The good times we had will make us feel sad when we think of those times yesterday. You are a grand old doll, Omagh Town Hall. You've been around for over 82 years. But now we will see your grand valedictory with some laughter, songs, and some tears. Adieu, adieu. We will all remember you long after this last curtain call. Then we'll never replace this hallowed space
fond farewell to our Omagh Town Hall.
'Tis many's a gay night from dark till daylight I spend with people of high renown. But in all their grandeur and heaps to squander, my heart would wander for sweet Omagh Town.